Hello? Can you hear me in the back? Great. So we're going to skip the question about if some of you does not speak English, because I've seen a few people in the audience that do not speak Portuguese, so we'll go straight ahead into English. So today that's going to be the official language. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. It is indeed a very big pleasure for the Association of Business Angels to associate itself with Fintech House and IFD. And today, Angels at Work, the event that we usually do every month, we've decided this year to take an itinerary approach, and today we're visiting Fintech House. Who knows where it will be tomorrow? So my name is Pedro Cerdeira. I'm a member of the board of the Local Association of Business Angels, and we have quite a treat for you, and I think you'll be happy. It's my job to do the méthode and sort of make sure that everything stays on track in terms of timing, that we do not spend the night here, because the pitches and the enthusiasm can get pretty wild. So the agenda is going to be quite simple. We're going to have João Freire Lembrado first. He is the president of the Fintech Association, and he's going to tell us a few words about a report which I very much recommend to you to have a look, because it's the work that has been done about the landscape of the Fintech vertical in Portugal and all the startups that we have and the state of the art. Very informative. I believe that we have a copy or two for you to have a look-see. Nevertheless, the report is online and you can download it, and do check it out because it's worth it. After that, we're going to have 5 startups that are going to pitch. The format is very simple. It's going to be 5 minutes each, plus 5 minutes for Q&A. I'll be sort of ruthless with time. The idea of this is to have a networking part of the agenda at the end, so we're just going to get you worked up, and you can know all that you ever wanted to know about this fantastic business afterwards. After that, it is with great pleasure that we have IFD in the house, here duly represented by Frederico Serras Gago, and we're going to listen and understand a couple of financial instruments that there are at our disposal in terms of investing. And the rest, it's yours, and it's networking. So without further ado, João, the stage is yours.
Everybody listens, right? So I'll skip the mic. So it's a great pleasure to be here with APBA and EFD. Both of them have been very supportive to Portugal Fintech, which is the Portuguese association, and it's a pleasure to be in a full house with lots of people that we've been working for a while. So regarding Portugal Fintech, just a quick intro. I'll be super fast. We are a non-profit association, non-governmental, startup-centric, so we focus on the startups, and we try to be a fintech enabler. Regarding the way we work, we got 4 verticals of work. So one, it's helping startups get closer to regulators, get closer to talent, get closer to mature players, so the incumbents, and get closer to investors. And that's what we're doing today here, trying to bring some startups to meet you. Regarding the regulators, just to give you a little bit of practical examples of what we are doing, we've approached the Portuguese regulators, presented them a plan to create the Portugal FinLab, which is kind of the Portuguese bank innovation hub, or in the FCA they call it sandbox. It's slightly different in terms of law, but it's basically the program that regulators use to connect with startups. And as you know, it's very important because in fintech it's pretty important to be regulated by design, and that's exactly the slogan, where regulator meets innovation. And yeah, it was very interesting. Like the first intake took like 40 companies approached, 30% of them were international, 40% of them needed to speak not just with one of the regulators, speak with the others, so it was very successful in that sense. And 80% were early stage companies, companies without legal departments, compliance departments, so it was very interesting in that sense. These are a couple of statistics, and basically what we try to do to also bring startups closer to the incumbents. We do lots of events and try to bring imagine on the launch, like we brought a couple of banks, insurers, like we are always trying to bring the incumbents into the house and in a digital way to speak with the fintechs to get closer. And basically our approach is always like knowing very well what startups are doing, understanding what are the use cases banks and insurance are looking for and trying to match them. And we get lots of, we are doing that for a while, it's going very well. Another way of making this a reality, it's the Portugal Fintech report. I got 4 copies for you to check it out afterwards on the network. But it was a physical report, 132 pages of information divided by 4 chapters with these main objectives, which is understanding and mapping who is who. So we got the top 30 fintechs in Portugal mapped with 1-pager explaining who is it, the business, the use case, the stage, the number of founders, etc. And also one chapter regarding statistics is the biggest pool of statistics regarding about fintech. Several real use cases, so examples of fintechs that are working with banks and insurers, not just Portuguese, international ones also, and that's lots of experts insights. But to give you a little bit of value, and Pedro asked me to speak about the report, 80% of the startups in Portugal are B2B, which I think it's an interesting data point. It's not B2C regarding the fintech landscape. It's interesting to see that 16 out of 30 was born in the last 3 years, but many of them with lots of traction. Like they rose more than 210 million euros in the last years. In terms of subsector, lots of concentration on lending and insurtech. So it's an interesting thing. Regarding regulation, it's one of the biggest pain points. Nevertheless, the landscape is improving due to this sandbox. Also, the side of incumbents still is a big pain point. Nevertheless, like startups from last year to this year felt much bigger openness from the fintech, from the banks and insurers to cooperate with them. So it's changing. Nevertheless, it's still a big pain point. And another interesting point, it's investment, and still also one big pain point. So that's what we're trying to solve. But you get the detailed statistics on the report, so feel free to download it and also take it here. Regarding some use cases for you to see, that's pretty interesting, like habit analytics, it's cooperating and doing everything for smart homes for aliens in France. It's pretty interesting technology there. Locker, it's working with Bank Montepio for all identity management. It's another example. APBA, it's working with BIG for aggregating bank accounts, and not just bank accounts, but also bonds, equity, so all asset classes. Advice Front is working with BEST to make a better journey on wealth management. So you get many, many examples. And to conclude, our last, let's say, milestone achieved was creating this house. So you are here, so I don't have to describe it. But just to give you a little bit of the objective of this, it's basically trying to bring all the fintechs here, rather if it is physical with their offices, but also virtually in all these type of events. And they get here, meet you, meet other incumbents. So it's basically the place where fintechs have everything to grow. That's the objective of this house. And I'm going to explain you how. Just to highlight that this is a partnership with Sitio, the biggest co-working operator in Portugal. They have more than 10 places. One way, it's good partners, and the partners, basically, it's open to any player, any incumbent to work, but basically these are special partners because they will put people here and resources to help the startups getting faster into the market, which is, I think, something that investors like. For example, Visa will have people here explaining the open API, how you can prototype and test and go fast to market regarding cards, payments, credit, etc. The legal side, Marajleto, it's ours, will give also office hours here to support startups. Luis, it's there, so any startup if you need. Accenture itself, not just on the definition of use cases, but also on the integration, which is very important. And Fidelidade, it's also having some teams here to iterate and to give feedback to the startups. And the BBVA, they got billions of euros invested in digital transformation, and they're also having an innovation team here, and that innovation team is pushing a lot the open marketplace, which is a much faster way of getting proof of concepts with the bank, which typically startups are begging for 6 months just for one meeting and then get changed. So we are trying to automatize and make it faster to get these things, and we got support of lots of players as infrastructure players, and we're gonna also try to have help on HR, help on perks, help on virtual membership, so startups that are not physically in Portugal but want to access to this network. We are filming this type of conference to create a learning portal, and yeah, so in a nutshell, it's pretty much this one place where you can have your physical office, and it's open for investors to pass here as much time as possible because startups are looking for that. In a premium location where you can bring the CEO of a bank or insurance company and you'll feel very welcomed, and try to have the best events such as this. So feel welcomed, like the house it's yours. Like at the front we got Marco and Hector. Could you raise your hand? So Marco and Hector, Mark is the director of the house, so anything you need, like knowing startups, understanding the programs that are happening, if you need one day to stay here, have meetings or meet the startups, those are the guys you should speak to.
If you want to do a tour after this event, it could be a good opportunity to...
So we try the Fintech house, it's the must-go place for fintechs in Portugal. And enjoy the event. Thanks a lot.
So, well, João has ashamed me by not using the mic, so like that. We take him up on the offer to visit the building. It's simply outstanding. Please tour it around, it's definitely worth it. So now we go to the startups. Guys, smile, you'll be on YouTube. That's where it is, for posterity. You'll be able to tell your grandchildren that you've pitched here. So it's gonna be fine. Because we need some order for this, we were incredibly clever and we've chosen alphabetical order. So the first one's gonna be Drivet Gonçalo. Gonçalo, are you a good driver?
I hope so.
What's your score?
Off you go then.
Quite good, quite good. Should I use the mic? I'm not as loud.
We can use it.
Just switch it on.
Can you hear me?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Try it right now.
No. There we go.
Hey,
No.
never mind. I'll just speak louder this time. So I'm Gonçalo Farinha. I'm one of the co-founders of Drivet. So the idea for Drivet came along when myself and Carlos were both consultants, myself at IBM, Carlos at AT Kearney, and we saw firsthand companies trying to leverage driving data to develop new innovative mobility services, and we saw the pitfalls that they were facing while trying to use this technology. We saw them trying to use aftermarket hardware that was installed into the cars to get this data, but it was really complex and expensive to install, so it made it a non-viable business solution. We saw them using smartphone-based GPS-intensive apps that really depleted the smartphone of the user, and the information quality wasn't really that good or diverse. And finally, we more recently have seen them trying to use their connected car ecosystem to get this data, but the ecosystem isn't really mature. Neither the penetration is right now viable to make a mass market product. And so that's why we developed Drivet, which is a plug-and-play telematics solution whose goal is to put driving analytics inside any app, and it works exactly like that. So our clients integrate our technology, and their apps become capable not only of automatically detecting when a driver does a car trip, but also enables us to generate a very rich and precise data set of driving data that can in turn be used to enable a new generation of mobility services. So this is some of the examples of the features that we make available of what we call enablers, and they can be put together, these modules, to create innovative and high value added experiences and new mobility solutions, such as risk analysis education that we are working with insurance on, efficiency and fuel savings analysis, both for fuel consumption and electricity consumption that we are working on utilities, which energy utilities applying on the market, but also things like fraud detection on route planning. There are some features that we make available with our solution out of the box. So what we really do differently from anyone in the market, it's first of all, it's the combination of these three. But first of all, we don't need anything that the user doesn't already have. So we use solely the smartphone sensors for our base solution. And one thing that we really do differently is that we use the low battery consumption sensors on the smartphone, the motion sensors, accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, that are very hard to work with, but with the algorithms that we developed based on digital signal processing and machine learning really enable us to have a much lower battery consumption than any solution in the market, but a much higher quality in terms of information. And the third comes exactly from that, which is this quality and diversity of information enables us to create unique features, such as, just to give you a quick example, we are the only solution in the market that using solely the smartphone is able to estimate fuel consumption with around 85% accuracy, and everything that's around that, so consumption scores, efficiency, emissions, everything around that, it's done not only with the smartphone. To do this daunting task, we have put together a very capable team, both in terms of business and technology, that goes beyond what you see here in terms of the core team. And we also, to support our developers, we also put together a very well-seasoned advisory team that not only supports us, but challenges to be a better team, better founders, and to grow Rivet into success. So we currently are focusing mainly two strategic segments, insurance and electric mobility. On insurance, we're trying to use real driving data to help insurers promote and reward good driving behaviors, but also to have established more meaningful and more frequent interactions with their customers. And on the electric mobility side, not only on promoting electric mobility and showing the users how much they can really save if they buy an electric vehicle, but also on developing features that can help make the life of an EV owner user. So we are always very keen to meet new investors that believe in our vision to make mobility safer and more sustainable, and that also believe in us as a team to be part of that reality. Thank you.
Spot on, 5 minutes.
Thank you.
No, don't go away. Now it's Q&A.
Oh, of course. Sorry. With the microphone, it just...
Questions, please, for answers by Gonçalo. I've never seen such a shy audience in my life.
Hi. Whatever you have mentioned in your presentation, the same features and applications, everything is being developed by Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, Tesla, and everybody, and they will be integrated in the car when you buy it.
Exactly.
So why should anybody invest in an application which has to be integrated into a car when I can just buy a car with everything you just said?
So absolutely, I don't need it. So absolutely, that's something as we see it as the future. So, but now the cars that we have don't have that integration, are not capable of that integration. So companies that want to tap into this information, driving information, and enable new mobility services don't have a source of information to do it. And so how we see it is, we are the enabler for a technology that is a baseline for exploring this information. And when the manufacturers come prepared to build this ecosystem where we can get the data from the cars that we also see as the future, then we'll tap also into that data, integrate it into our models, to consolidate it and to present the same results to our clients. So either if the information comes from the smartphone or from our manufacturers, to present them the same features and the same capabilities out of the box. That's our goal, and now we see the future.
how can you or your software identify who is the driver versus who's going in the car and not actually actively driving?
It's a very good question. So it's actually based in various sensors and various models, mathematical models that are probabilistic, so they won't be 100% accurate because there's a chance they'll miss some trips. But we have, with more and more data, increasingly make them very accurate. So we base them, for instance, if you have a Bluetooth device present on the trip that has a specific signature that is associated with a brand, Mercedes, or a car brand, that gives us more confidence that you are inside your vehicle. For instance, if we mix different information about your driving behavior, so distractions combined with speed, that is another voting model. For instance, if you are distracted on the smartphone at certain speeds, it's much less probable that you are the driver. And we combine all these scoring models to tell with very good accuracy if you are the driver or not in a trip.
One more question, please.
So can you tell us a bit more about your fundraising strategy and the investors are looking for?
Yeah, so we just raised a round, actually, just in last September, where APBA Ventures and Big Star Ventures participated. Also, this set of advisors that I've showed you, they are not only advisors but also investors in the company, which is really important for us. And our goal is to develop our business plan for the next 18 months. So we'll be, as we know that this process take time to continue the conversation and to get the best investors that believe in our team to be an important part in making mobility safer and more sustainable, which is what we are looking for in an investor.
Sylvia, quickly.
Okay, so you talk about companies and you talk about your app and mobile phones. How will you convince me to download this app that is going to know everything I do in life and use it?
Exactly. So it's about not only focusing on the value that companies can extract from your data, but what they can give you in terms of features that really can convince you that it's value enough for you to use the application. For instance, I gave the example of the EV driver. So what we are trying to do here is to, with utility companies, for them to gather more drivers to their services, to have people charging in their stations. And how we convince people to give their data is not only to, with the utilities, providing good services on charging, on the basics, but also to develop new services that help you, for example, as an EV driver, have an easier life. So you're going from here to Porto, imagine, and you're expected, based on our algorithms, to get out of battery on Coimbra. So what's the best place based on detour and general availability of the charges that would be good for you to charge your car? So it's about not only the value that can be extracted to the company, but what this value services, these features that can bring value to the end users, and that's an integrated part of the services and the features that we make available.
Big round of applause. So now we go to Happy. Diogo.
I think I don't need it.
Off you go then.
Okay, hello. My name is Diogo Nesbitt. I'm one of the founders of Happy, and we want to consolidate the access of financial information data through different sources. We want to be a provider of new business model, new services that fintech and banks and other financial institutions can provide, giving them access to many of different information sources and documents that are on different kinds of sources. Not only from banks, from public institutions, from Portuguese Bank of Portugal, and any other information. We go through different sites to capture all these data and documents, and we provide all the information on a very easy to use API where companies can use to simplify and to agile their processes. How we work? we have many different technologies to grab all the data from, for example, Bank of Portugal, banks like BIG, as João are saying, or Portuguese authority, and we can grab your tax declaration, your PPR, your credits from different sources, and put everything on the same API, and any kind of company can use it very, very easily. We put everything with our intelligence scrapper in the same structure, so you don't know if you are getting access from one bank or for one financial institution. It's just a kind of product with a value and data, essentially. What we have different? We have a very simple and agile platform that you can put on your servers. We don't have any proper servers. Our architecture is put on our clients, and we don't see any kind of data. And this kind of model is unique. And our technology, we use Docker containers. It's very scalable for any kind of business models. Who we are? Okay, the team, it's me and Federico, we are the founders. We are two techies that love innovation. We have some experience with other startups, with other companies that are not startups, and making many kind of different projects. We look to financial area, and it's like a passion, and we think that we can make the difference, changing many kind of process. Our goal at this moment is you can have a credit, for example, for your house in 2-3 minutes. We can grab all the information that you need, and nowadays you can take up to 2 months to have the reply from your bank, and we can grab all the information like your wages for the last 2 years, your credits on all banks, your tax declaration, your proof of address, everything in 2 minutes. Now we are looking to get new prospects. We want to leverage more business models, not only from banks, that is our main client, but on fintechs. We are looking here for someone that can use our technology, so any kind of information. Even if you want to accelerate your onboarding process, we can do it in a couple of seconds instead of put all the information there. And that's it.
Questions for Diogo, please. There you go.
What sort of personal information do you use to pull the information? So if me as a, I don't know if you do this, but me as a person, could I use your service to pull information? I can use the service.
Yeah, you can use it, yeah.
So
yeah.
what information would you need from
For
my identity number?
Yeah, usually
my bank account number?
Usually the username and password from different sites that you want to use. So we pick your username and password and grab to the sites and pick all the documents that you need.
Ilya, go ahead.
With regard to compliance procedures, MFID, GDPR, banking directive, is it all compliant with that?
Yes. With the usual one, the easy one, the PSD2, we have two different type of technology. One that uses the services that PSD2 say that we have to use, the APIs from the banks, but to the rest of the information, assets, credits, and so on, we use scraping, and the information never goes out of our client service, so we don't have that kind of problems.
You have your proprietary APIs, or you integrate with the APIs of your service provider?
We have mixed models. If we have APIs, we can integrate it. If not, we provide ours.
I have a question. I'm a little confused. How do you provide services? Like every client has to put all their documents into your server so it is available, or you access to different public entities and you try to find out everything about me?
Yeah, that's right.
So if I don't give you authorization, how can you find out everything about me?
We can't. Yeah, that's not the use case. I think the use case is if you want to get a credit on a bank, you go there and they ask you for different documents that you have to go to home, make the download, send it to them. They don't know if they are the real ones. They have to prove that they are correct and you didn't touch them. Instead of, you go there, you just put your username and password, and we grab all those real documents. The bank don't have to check if they are valid or no, if you have changed it or not, and so it's much more easier one.
And what happens to that information once it has been passed on to an entity which needs to know about me? And how can you secure that that entity will not pass it to somebody else to make some more money?
It's the same way that you guarantee when you give them the PDF or the paper with your bank account, and they put them on their systems. We didn't touch in the usual system.
I would assume that's why you don't have any servers, right?
Yeah, it's like a mix. It's a benefit for us that we don't have to worry them, and for our clients that don't have to give us the information.
Yeah, so the solution is very scalable to any service that actually has a digital onboarding process, because you just scrapped that. Do you see these expanding to other areas and use cases?
Yes,
Definitely. Where are you focusing there?
Now we just want to get financial information, but as we get more clients and we check more meetings, we understand that we can edit any kind of information.
But have you already signed the protocols with the public entities like the Financer, the Seguro Social, the banks, the Bank of Portugal, and everybody?
No, we use scrapping in some cases, in other not, and so it's like a common technology that you just access them and go there and grab the information with your username, password, and consent.
Great. Luis, do you know me or do you know your customer?
I will know everything.
Off you go then. You want the mic?
Yes.
And the clicker. Hang on. There you go.
Thank you so much. Is it working? Oh, yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Manil Bizaldim, and I'm here to introduce you to KnowMe. KnowMe is actually a name that started because I was working on a payment institution, and I was dealing with the onboarding processes for clients, entities, or corporate clients. And I felt that the process of the onboarding, it was actually very hard to have the whole process done, and with the diligence to comply it and to have everything updated during the entire process of the services, it was very difficult to have the updated information. So I decided to start thinking a bit more about this, how could I improve this process, and with GDPR discussion and with PSD2, I've started to try to change a bit on the way our data is managed. So I was trying to solve the KYC process, and that's why the name KnowMe, know your customer, and then KnowMe, because I think KnowMe will be the best way to just share the information with the customer. So the idea is to myself, as I am the owner of my own data, to manage and control who is the one accessing my own information. So with this way, I could not only share with my clients why I'm asking for so many information, but I could share as well more of this pain on how we could solve the KYC problem. Because I don't know if you have the same, if you felt the same way, but I was dealing with a sales team, and I noticed that my team was actually taking more time to collect this type of data than to sell my financial services. So I was starting to study a bit more on the onboarding process and how much it was costing to financial institutions, and it was actually big numbers this is costing. So banks and financial institutions nowadays, they have too many human resources dedicated only to the onboarding process and for compliance, and they are actually hiring several services to verify this type of information. So it's costing a lot and too much time. So the idea of KnowMe is actually to empower yourselves as a customer, as an individual, but also as a corporate, to manage your own data and to share your own data, to control your own data, to all of the entities, actually, not only financial services, but to all of the entities who are accessing your data. So this allows you not only to have the information aggregated, but also to be proactive managing your own information. So here's a screen and an example where you can see not only your individual profile, but your company profile, and then to access and to check who is requesting for access, who is asking, for example, for your ID card, because you can collect all the information. When you have all your information of yourself, this application is going to alert when you have to do something to have it updated. The big difference of KnowMe app is that this and the portal, it is the first application in the market that is totally user-oriented. So until now we have several entities, but they are only looking at the company side, so the side who is accessing your data, not for yourselves. So in the business model here, who is paying for this? It's of course not the user, but the companies who need to consume to access your own data. They have costs already, so here the idea is to reduce the costs for these companies. So, and we already checked it with banks, with governments, with investment funds, several financial institutions, to mobility companies, insurance, attorneys, and so many other industries. And how it will be working. So the user will have only to download the application, or if it's a company, a portal, and then create the account. And in this case, for a use case, we will have an API as well to be more automized process, of course. So here you can see just an example. The team for now, it's myself and George. George is not able to be here today, but he's the CTO, so he's dealing with the IT infrastructure. And then just to provide you some information as well, because we want to not only continue with the app development, but to hire more IT people for our team, and to have some certifications and to validate our information in other companies to make it solid. Here, forecast, and just to share some information with you as well, we found some studies that reveals that, for example, in an onboarding process, even though you are not consuming any financial product, for a bank it costs in average $70 just to open an account. So you haven't done anything, but it has already a cost for a bank. So here we'll be reducing it for €2.50, so it's a lot. So here we want to share just a bit of our project and to find an angel to join our mission to change the way data is managed and controlled.
Questions, please.
How do you provide the security of the data being stored on, I believe, on your cloud service?
Yes, we have actually a mixed infrastructure with blockchain and with regular infrastructure, but to be honest with you, the best person to answer you in that, it will be my CTO. So if you would like to, we can schedule a meeting and you will explain everything about the infrastructure, because the security of the platform, it is for us the main thing we want to assure. So we will have not only a certification on that, so in order to guarantee that we are actually complying to everything in terms of data, but we have our own solution on blockchain that will be helping to add some extra security on this.
So your product is actually a data marketplace. What is your plan to acquire both users and the companies? Because you need all companies that are acquiring data to be also on board with things.
Yeah, our first step here, it will be with financial institutions. So the idea is to get some banks, for example, using this platform to start the onboarding process. So that's the first step.
I have a suggestion, and I would like to join the project because I deal with a lot of investors coming from India for Golden Visa.
Yeah.
And last week I took 4 of the partners. They spent 3 hours in Santander to answer 126 optional choice questions.
It's a pain. It's a real pain.
And then the manager asked, have you ever traveled to the United States? 3 of them said yes. So they gave them another 80 questions to answer. So I would sell your solution to my clients for 99 euros. And if you can get certified by the banks, so the clients can pre-feed the information into your system, just go to the bank, give their code number like Sartidam Permanent,
yes.
and everything is done.
But, you know,
Let's give this gentleman a round again.
That will be the like.
I don't know if I can just add something
Yes.
to your proposition, because here we want to create a community of validation of the information. So the idea is, once you have your information updated in the platform, if you have other banks or other entities consuming the data, as a user you will have to accept every time if an entity will use your data or not. But it will have like some type of information. This type of information has been validated for 2 entities or for 3 entities. So it will be more and more solid as we want to provide the service to the community.
And to conclude that, the biggest joke is all that we spent 3 hours and none of the information is to be validated, just yes, no questions.
And it will be like this in the future.
Whenever it is ready, let me know. And buy it for all my incoming clients.
Emily and Dawn, I'm not a millennial, but will you help me save it, please?
Thank you. Hi, so I'm Emily from Save, and we're building an app to help millennials change the way they save. Okay.
You want the mic as well?
No, you can all hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. I don't think I need it. So, our target market is busy at work. Their savings, they can try and work as hard as they can, but any savings that they do accrue can easily be spent on unexpected costs or potentially holidays. So they find it really hard to build up savings, and a lot of them are really afraid that they may not be able to afford a house or any big cost in future. Also, people my age kind of think you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest or get started. They don't really know, they get really confused with the technical wording, and they're not really sure where to proceed. So our app is a stress-free way to minimize the choices required, minimize the technical information needed, and just get started. Just with 25 euros, all you need to actually start investing in hundreds of companies. And they will see their money grow. So our app will show them, they'll be able to show and see their money grow. There are 102 million millennials in Europe. That's a mouthful. And that actually adds up to over $8 trillion of wealth in those people's hands. And millennials are also changing the way they invest. So over 21 million millennials are interested in self-investment platforms, and 7 million are interested in social impact investments. We've estimated, being close to the market, that at least 1.5 million millennials will be interested in an investment app, and I'll tell you why. We launched a survey to over 54 millennials and had feedback that 79% of them want exactly this, a recurring app, a recurring investment service. That's 4 out of 5. Here's some things they said. I said, I know very little about investment, but I really want a for dummies product. If the system was automatic, it invested every month in a financial product, that would be great. And this model is actually already active overseas. So in New Zealand and in China, it exists. In China, they launched, and they actually have now installed it in WeChat. It's built right into the system. In New Zealand, Sharesies, the company here, launched, and within the first 8 weeks, they had over $1 million invested in their platform, over 3,500 users. So here's a sneak peek into the product and what it would look like. A user can easily sign up. They can then set up auto investing. They get to choose the portfolio. But again, it's simple. The choice is simple. And then they get to watch it grow. And grow it well. So based on here are some projections of how a term deposit would behave in comparison to an ETF fund. This is a real social enterprise ETF fund. This is over 5 years, and you see that it grows over 8,000, from 6,000 to over 8,000 euros in comparison to 6,060 in a term deposit in the bank. in order to make this profitable, we will charge an annual fee and a per transaction fee. We've estimated that with just 5% of the market share, we'd be able to target 1.5 million millennials. And this is clearly lucrative and profitable from the start. With SaaS, as a SaaS model, it's inherently scalable with minimal marketing and technology fees. In order to gain adoption, we would start with early adopters who are open-minded to new technology, and then get them to buy in with their friends. So incentive schemes, referral schemes, so that they're able to easily persuade their friends to get on board as well. We'd expand to partnerships with larger enterprises and events going forward. There's a real gap in the investment area, the low risk, easy to understand investment area. There's a huge gap and we aim to fill it. So we'd say we aim to expand across Europe and then go to other areas once we grow further. The competition is mostly heavily technically worded. It's things like traditional banks, or very savings focused. If you look on the App Store, you'll find technical solutions, which have very technical terms and are really hard to understand for a layperson. Or you'll find games and savings apps, but nothing in between that makes it really easy to see how you save and incentivize you. So we have banking experience, and Dawn here has had experience tailoring portfolios for millennials specifically, and I have the experience in product. Here's the team. So Dawn is a credit analyst with 5 years experience. She's actually already built an online investment portfolio within an investment bank. And I have 5 years product management experience within Fintech, and I have founded my own startup already, and I've scaled 2 high growth international tech companies' product teams already. One in New Zealand, one here. So we're looking for a partnership with a bank who's already international but interested in providing services for us. And then any advice you can have from other people who've scaled B2C fintech companies in Europe recently. And of course, if you're interested in investing, we're willing to have a chat. Join us to help make investments happen.
Questions, please. There you go.
Would you be regulated by the CVM?
Not necessarily if we find a partner. So if we find a banking partner with the license, then we simply present the data and exchange and show the clients their information and their funds. Mm-hmm.
So why you want to partner with a bank? Just to get the license, or the money will be invested through the bank?
Both. Our aim would...
Why you want to invest through bank when you can go direct to the mutual funds? At least in mutual funds, your investors will have more chances of getting return. Banks are giving hardly any money.
They're doing ETFs. They don't need a mutual fund.
There's 2 separate parts. There's the brokers, and then there's the banks who would actually store the customers' accounts, store the customers' money. That's 2 sides.
But then how do you underwrite the investors' money who are going to invest your credit? The banks go bust, which is very common in Portugal.
I can't speak to that, but I think that...
And not only that, in Portuguese banks, you only 100,000 euro is guaranteed. Rest everything is just say bye bye.
Yeah.
So if you really want to partner with banks, you should partner with banks in countries where at least 500,000 is guaranteed.
So we're not just looking in Portugal for a bank partner, by the way. We are looking for an international bank.
But if I'm you, I'll partner with mutual funds.
Will you have an offer for this?
Yeah, if she's open, I can join, and well, we can recreate something.
He's joining
different.
2 stars.
Yeah. Because we have something going on in India already.
Mm-hmm.
Emily, have you seen the Acorns model? Is it more similar, at least in my opinion, more than the competitors that you've put there?
It's similar, but they're not active in Europe, are they?
Yes, that's the only thing. But the idea is
exactly the same. Look, it's been done before. We just want to bring it here.
No, it's a very good idea. I'm really like a lot.
That's great.
And to add on to that, just yesterday came out the news that 2 Portuguese banks, they want to charge customers who are updating their money into Revolut. So Revolut is no more free in Portugal.
We have a question over there.
There is an ETF behind, so it's an active traded ETF. I mean, managed ETF behind your system.
Was the question, are we using ETFs that are managed?
Yeah, is this managed ETF?
No.
No?
Straight from brokers.
It's just a pool of bonds inside?
Yes.
So there is no guarantee of return?
Yes.
Okay.
To be fair.
So it's not easy?
So we can curate the portfolios of funds, and we've seen ones that have steady guarantees of return. Of course, with any financial product, and I'm sure you're all much better experts than I am, just to say, but you can never completely guarantee return. But what we've seen over the trends is up and to the right. You never know when a crash is going to happen, but overall, the ones we're picking, since it's diversifying across many funds, it's more stable.
And they invest in Tesla. Have you seen the price of the stock?
There we go.
We're going to get you really worked up now because we're going to talk about taxes. Okay? Mariana.
Just go offshore, don't pay any tax.
You're doing the third today?
Why not?
Hello everybody, I'm Mariana Santos and I'm here to present to you TTE. It's a tax tech intelligence software company that is working to save your company from losses or helps you recover from your credits. So imagine João. João has a company that has sold 1,000 euros on services to Maria's company. Well, just doing that, João has to write an invoice to the government and pay 23% of taxes to the government, even though he has not received yet the money from Maria's company. 30 days pass, Maria's company did not pay, and he finds out that Maria's company is insolvent. So he's not going to get his money from Maria's company, and he just lost 23% that he already lost to the government. So situations like these happens in Portugal. Oops, a lot. Sorry. Okay. So 1.2 million companies and entrepreneurs in Portugal are in the same situation as João's. The total debt, 50 million to suppliers of costs, that is around 27% of the GDP in Portugal. 85% of these entrepreneurs or companies do not pay in due dates, and there's around 2,000 bankruptcies per year in Portugal and 150,000 enforcement recipients yearly. So that's a yearly revenue written off of 5 billion, sorry, because I was doing this in Portuguese, 5 billion euros that we can estimate here. So the problems with the VAT loss is, first of all, it's a burden. Regardless if you get your money from your service or not, you will have to pay the VAT to the government. It is a very complex system and rules that the VAT recover requests. So it's very hard to recover your VAT after you pay to the government. And it's exclusive because if you have passed a given number of dates, time, months, you will be excluded from claiming your VAT back. So for instance, if Maria, by the time he made the sale, if Maria was already insolvent, you can no longer get your VAT. So there are some current solutions and some opportunities where we found. For instance, in the pre-sale section, we have government data, CTU's site for instance, but this information is available, but it's very complex and hard to find, and it just gives you information. It doesn't give you any information of what to do with that information. Then there's companies that do risk assessment reports. They are very extensive. Oftentimes they do not focus on VAT, and they might be very expensive for Portuguese public. And then the recovery assessment, the VAT recoverables, there's a compliance of recovery requests required for you to do your recovery in the due time. And that takes accountants, tax consultants, auditors. So TTE, our company, we look at this tax problem in two ways. First, helping minimize the risk of sales. When you want to sell to a company, we can give you information if you should or should not, and help you recovery once you have sold and you have a bad debt. All of these consolidated in a soft analysis. That's what we are creating. This is our MVP. We are focused on 175,000 small and medium businesses out of 1.2 million. Thank you. In Portugal, and that's what they pay. They pay for 55% of the VAT nationally. There's a yearly potential of VAT recovery of 160 million. Sorry, I'm so confused. 160 million. So our market focus is industry. It's in the wholesale trading, transportation, automobile. So the MVP we've been working for the past months. We are incubated at Demio as an accelerator here in Lisbon, in Viado. We have worked on the unlimited individual search. So you go there, you put the NIF you are searching for, and you get the results. Next phase is going to be a SAFT analysis, so you can put all your database of clients, and we will give you all the risk assessment. And last, the daily updates of analysis of the SAFT client list with the VAT recovery monetization. So our competitive advantage is that we have brought legal and finances all together. We understood the lack on the government, and we are flagging out when you should be selling or when you should be prepared to receive your VAT. All of these in a very user-friendly, in one place, you have it all. We want to provide value of information to the clients, not only give them the data. Our team is made by the three of us, Marcelo from Brazil, Miguel here Portuguese, and me, I'm Portuguese. They both work in legal and finances. I'm a journalist. And then our two developers who are still in Brazil, looking forward to move to Portugal, working on the back and the front end. We are raising now $200,000 for the MVP development and launch. We want to break even by 18 months, where we estimate with an objective of 30,000 euros monthly on an average of 150 licenses on an average of 200 euros per month. And what are we going to do with this money? We're going to accelerate and strengthen our operations in terms of infrastructure, especially for data processing, Salesforce, marketing, and brand. We are TTE and we are invested in saving your company from financial losses.
Last round of questions, please.
How do you get the SAFT each month?
It is to be provided by our clients.
Okay, I can help you if you want to integrate.
Yeah, well, we like to
can do it easily. So at each month we go there.
Just to update the list of clients and also the invoices. So
yeah, we get the SAFT and integrate in your system.
Let's do it.
Do you have any way to measure the tax health of your counterparty? Meaning that I'm entering into the transaction with the counterparty, I want to make sure that he is a good taxpayer and has no any kind of issues, etc.
This current solution does not consider it, but there is public data regarding the tax health, like you were saying. For instance, there's public information on debt to tax or social security. This can be easily introduced in the application, but this is concerning the VAT recovery more. It could be another model or a model of included in the model of risk. But it can
How are you going to speed up the VAT recovery? I didn't get that.
How
are you going to speed up the VAT recovery?
So the
because
thing
it
is
doesn't
just to, Mariana didn't, the idea of Mariana presenting is to put it in simple terms, but the Portuguese VAT recovery system requires that either your client became bankrupt or has no assets to pay your credit, or on the other hand, it has spent 24 months without paying. This is about to change. It is being discussed in the Parliament to reduce the time for 12 months. But the thing is, you have to count these deadlines for each invoice you issue. So imagine that you issue 1,000 invoices. The monetization is impossible. And what happens now is that companies allocate their accountants, their own accountants or external accountants to measure things up, and they end by losing VAT because they lose the deadlines. That's how it works.
Do you have a sweet spot for your target market? Because as far as I understand, so it's B2B, because it doesn't really work for individuals. Then it doesn't work for other European companies as clients, because you will have reverse VAT. Doesn't work for US clients, because you wouldn't charge the VAT.
Yes, yes.
So this only for B2B in Portugal. If it costs you about 200 a month to have the subscription, it means that your client needs to lose at the very least, €1,000 a month in unpaid like invoices
So-
that they would recover away in 2 years. So I'm not sure exactly what's your like perfect client type.
So our idea is to get it all, mostly, because our estimation is 160 million that are potentially recoverable in Portugal. Like you said, this is a national and domestic situation because if we concern other credits regarding other countries, there's a reverse that, and this problem does not occur. Other thing is that what happens is even if we can get a small price for this process, even a small company that has a credit of 1,000 or even less may consider to have our service hired. But so what we want to do is like the first solution. The cost of the process is not very high. It will become higher as the models are more complex with a larger number of taxpayer numbers to be processed. And of course, that the more numbers are being processed, the higher the rate of charge will charge. So we are considering ranging from 100 euros per month, but considering the volume of data to be processed.
Great, thank you very much. So now, Luís, please, Frederico, please do come to the stage. You want to sit down? There you go.
So,
as you wish.
So basically, hello everyone, my name is Luís. It's nice to be here. I'm supposed to do a Q&A with Frederico on the IFD and what it does, basically. I think the first question that I typically get is whether people have a clear snapshot of what the IFD actually does, a complete one, and I think you're the best person to actually ask this question. So can you give us a snapshot of what you do? It's a little bit easier.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for everyone for coming tonight, and thank you for this opportunity to present IFD. So IFD is the National Promotional Bank in Portugal, basically a development bank. We are the largest LP in VC&P, in venture capital and private equity funds. So we are a fund of funds, and we are also a bank of bank. So we lend to banks, to brick and mortar banks. And we are also a guarantor for banks. So basically, we have reached 2 billion euros impact in the Portuguese businesses this year, well, 2019. We are a fast-growing business, so we are addressing the problem of under-capitalization of Portuguese SMEs, and in general, easing the access to finance by Portuguese businesses, being startups or major companies. We are also in contact with our peers at European level, being the European Commission and other promotional banks.